Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Rafaat again. This is Michael. I am your online TOEFL instructor. I'm also the founder, owner, and the materials writer for the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And as one of my online students, you've also paid for the additional service to have your independent and integrated writing corrected. So I'm going to spend some time right now looking at your essay. So let's look first at what you wrote, right? So I'm going to go ahead and post it here. This is what you wrote here. And you can take a look at this maybe when you get to the end of the video when you're done, and you can compare with what you wrote with what I call the edited version. Which is this one. Now before we get into it, we should probably take a look at the question. Alright, so let's take a look at the question. Put it right up here. This is pretty important. The other day I was spending some time over at the ETS website, and I was reading watching some of their videos going over the tips for the independent and integrated writing tasks. And one of the things that the guy Michael from ETS said is answer the question. And that's a pretty big problem. A lot of people do not directly answer the question. So let's see what you're being asked to answer before we get into your response. So it says, some people think the government should spend as much money as possible exploring outer space, for example, traveling to the moon and other planets. Other people disagree and think governments should spend this money for basic needs on Earth. Which of these two opinions do you agree with? So use specific reasons and details to support your answer. So in this case, it doesn't say compare the two views and then indicate. It just says which of these opinions do you agree with. Okay, as I go, I will probably make some changes to your essay, so you want to pay attention. Okay, you say, actually, there are many rival concepts for living in the future, and not all opinions are similar or even. I'm going to say logical. I think logic is typically used as a noun. Logical is used as an adjective. You say governments must give priority to develop our lives on Earth so they must give and must spend their money for basic needs on Earth. So I would probably combine these two ideas here. You have, we wish that our world can be without pollution. Besides, we must have a vision of suitable accommodations on the earth by solving poverty and unemployment problems. Let's combine these together. We can say pollution, poverty, and unemployment. Right there. So we're kind of putting the thesis like that. I don't think you need to say all this information. But your first paragraph is still too short, but I'm trying to work with you on your thesis a little bit. So governments must give priority to develop our lives on Earth and must spend You can't say therefore, must spend their money, how about on our basic needs on earth, especially since we have pollution, poverty, and unemployment. In our societies. Now, you did say here, you said there are many rival concepts for living in the future. Not all opinions are similar or even logical. For some, we should devote, or how about allocate, more resources to so that we can explore Mars and other planets. Furthermore, they argue we should spend money on finding habitable places to live in case our Earth dies. So your first paragraph was a little bit short, and you did say in your first sentence there are rival concepts, right? So I'm giving one of those rival concepts. Whatever so spending money space. Governments must give priority to developer lives on Earth and must spend their money on our basic needs. And you said on Earth, so we have to repeat again, especially since we have poverty, pollution, and unemployment in our society. So I think we got it. So we needed, Rafaat, to make this first paragraph a little bit better than what you did. It was a little bit too short because remember, you're trying to get closer to over 300 to 400 words on this type of essay. So by expanding your introduction a little bit more, we're getting closer to that limit. Okay, here. Pollution. This is your first key point. You're having kind of some word order issues. You say pollution is a global problem which needs spending money to face and solve their effects. I would say this. First of all, of pollution. And we'll say pollution, a global problem. I think this, if you go back to the actual question at the top, we're talking about governments, right? So we repeat that key word. First of all, government should spend more money on confronting and solving the effects of pollution, a global problem. Sooner or later, we can be in serious danger because of the results of pollution. Everyone would like to attain or see our wishes realized for a clean and green big cities everywhere. We look for cities uniformly surrounded by large garden areas available to enjoy. We cannot live insecure without solving the problem completely. Okay, you're giving some examples on pollution, but you have to focus more around the government spending money on pollution, which I think is kind of what you're trying to say. You might say, for example, government can spend money on educating the public through maybe, you might say, through advertising and documentary we are in serious danger because of or as a result of pollution. And you say, once public realizes the dangers of pollution, they will be more likely to support by paying more taxes to solve the problem. Okay, then we can get in the rest of it. So what we have here, say, first of all, government should spend more money on confronting and solving the effects of pollution, a global problem. For example, the government can spend money on educating the public through advertising and documentary television programs so society knows we are in serious danger because of or as a result of pollution. Because of, as a result of is the same thing. So you don't need to say both. That's kind of redundant. So we'll say we are in serious danger as a result of pollution. Once the public realizes the dangers of pollution, they will be more likely to support the government by paying more taxes to solve the problem. Then use another transition. Consequently, more money could be spent on I'm going to take this idea here. on surrounding our cities by large garden areas available for everyone to enjoy. That'll probably work right there. So this, what we have to do is we have to kind of make sure that we're answering whatever you're trying to prove in your paragraph. You have to make sure you give examples and things to help support that idea. Then you might say at the very end here, of course, might say something like that. Okay, now we're ready to go to our next point. All right, let's read it one more time, this paragraph. So we say, first of all, government should spend more money on confronting and solving the effects of pollution, a global problem. For example, the government can spend money on educating the public through advertising and documentary television programs so society knows we are in serious danger as a result of pollution. Once the public realizes the dangers of pollution, they will be more likely to support their government by paying more taxes to solve the problem. Consequently, more money could be spent on surrounding our cities by large garden areas available for everyone to enjoy. Of course, having more gardens in our cities can help decrease the amount of carbon dioxide going into our atmosphere. Second of all, how about this? Let's go back to the question. Instead of spending governments can allocate money solving the problem of poverty and unemployment. Now, if you want to go with those two ideas, you can do it. These are two key points. You could develop half of your paragraph talking about poverty and then half of it talking about unemployment, and there is a direct connection between the two. That's probably why you chose to put them in the same paragraph. Am I right? So helping poor people, you're saying preparing fresh and neat apartments. You could say, for those lower income earners, the government Maybe something like that. This is one idea. Now we need a transition. In addition to helping the poor get adequate housing, can also their financial resources and you want to say something like this is the people who don't have jobs, what can the government do to help them? Right? This is the other idea. You didn't really bring this one up. In your paragraph, you're talking about finding suitable accommodations, right? You said many people lose their employee because of low income. We can find solution by sincere efforts. We have to go to this idea of unemployment. How can the government solve unemployment? So that's what we're trying to figure out right here in this part of the paragraph. So in addition to helping the poor get adequate housing, the government can also devote some of their financial resources toward job training. For example, in countries where manufacturing is no longer popular type of job, government could provide vouchers to those unemployed people who want to learn computer programming might want to learn new. You might want to learn how about medical care jobs such as nurses, physical therapists, pharmacists, or even doctors. Training provided. Okay, I think we got it. Boy, that's a fat paragraph, isn't it? The main thing is you brought up two ideas, right? Poverty and unemployment. Now, you could probably separate these into two separate paragraphs, but let's see what we have. Second of all, instead of spending millions of dollars on space exploration, now I said that in the beginning because it ties back to the question. Of course, that's not what you're trying to prove here, but you're just acknowledging the opposite view or the counter argument. You say governments can allocate money towards solving the problem of poverty and unemployment. For those lower income wage earners, the government can help subsidize their houses or apartments so that these poor people can have a neat and clean place to live. In addition to helping the poor get adequate housing, the government can also devote some of their financial resources toward job training. For example, in countries where manufacturing is no longer the most popular type of job, the government should, maybe not should, but could provide vouchers to those unemployed people who want to learn computer programming. Or maybe some of the unemployed might want to learn medical care jobs. Maybe it's better to say might want to be trained in medical care jobs, such as nurses, physical therapists, pharmacists, or even doctors. The job training provided by the government could help reduce the unemployment through re-education. So this paragraph, I'm going to get rid of it altogether, but I took your ideas and I expanded them out so you can see really what you're trying to do here. To sum up, it is a shame that we cannot solve pollution until this moment. Added to this, to save a suitable, comfort, and better life, so you ran out of time, it looks like. This is a disaster. Your conclusion does not work well at all. What you're trying to do in the conclusion is to restate your key ideas. So what you might do is say something like this, to sum up. Even though benefits providing housing for the poor Okay, something like that. I think we got it. This is difficult. This is a difficult thing, Rafaat. You really get my brain going, and I apologize that sometimes when you're doing a video, you're supposed to talk the whole time, whatever, but like I told you before, sometimes I cannot create, which means write and talk at the same time, because writing is a largely thinking activity. Now I'm telling you, I know you're struggling right now and you feel like, you know, my writing isn't where it needs to be, but keep practicing. That's the main thing, because as you practice, it'll be easier and easier for you to come up with new ideas and better ideas and to put them in a way that makes sense. Okay, so let's go through the essay one more time. From an editing perspective, we know what the question is. So paragraph 1. Actually, there are many rival concepts for living in the future, and not all opinions are similar or even logical. For some, we should allocate more resources so that we can explore Mars and other planets. Furthermore, they argue, we should spend money on finding habitable places to live in case our Earth dies. Despite whatever advantages might exist in spending money on exploring outer space, governments must give priority to develop our lives on Earth and must spend make sure I'm getting and must spend their money on our basic needs. How about must spend, just say money, because it's not just the government's money, but not just our money. So it must spend money on our basic needs, especially since we have pollution, poverty, and unemployment in our societies. Then we get to the next paragraph. So this is our thesis, really. Pollution, poverty, and unemployment. We have these 3 key points. You notice how we say here, we talk about pollution. Here, this kind of relates back to the first key point. Then we talk about poverty and unemployment, which are the next 2 key points of the thesis. First of all, governments should spend more money on confronting and solving the effects of pollution, a global problem. For example, the government can spend money on educating the public through advertising and documentary television programs so society knows we are in serious danger as a result of pollution. Once the public realizes the dangers of pollution, they will be more likely to support the government by paying more taxes to solve the problem. Notice how I say danger here in this sentence. I repeat the word danger in the next sentence. That is called cohesion. Cohesion means to connect different sentences together. You can do a better job of doing that. You say, consequently, more money could be spent on surrounding our cities by large garden areas available for everyone to enjoy. And of course, having more gardens in our cities can help decrease the amount of carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere. Second of all, instead of spending millions of dollars on space exploration, governments can allocate money towards solving the problem of poverty and unemployment. For those lower income wage earners, the government can help subsidize their houses or apartments so that these poor people can have a neat and clean place to live. In addition to helping the poor get adequate housing, the government can also devote some of their financial resources toward job training. For example, in countries where manufacturing is no longer the most popular type of job, the government could provide vouchers to those unemployed people who want to learn computer programming. Or maybe some of the unemployed might want to be trained in medical care jobs, such as nurses, physical therapists, pharmacists, or even doctors. The job training provided by the government could help reduce the unemployment through re-education. There you go. To sum up, even though there are benefits to spending money on space exploration, we should concentrate on tackling problems in our society, like providing housing for the poor, using money to reduce the effects of pollution, and I have a parallel structure problem, and helping to minimize poverty and unemployment. You notice that? Providing, using, and helping. So, this is why we edit our writing. We edit our writing because it helps us see sometimes what kinds of changes that we need to make. And reading your essays out loud, like I'm doing right now, when I read my essay out loud, it helps me see some of the problems I have in my writing. And you can do the same. It can help you too. Now here's the edited version, right? And here's your version. So I'm going to put you right now, if I go to the rubrics, let me click on them really fast and bring them up and talk to you a little bit about that. Let's see. This is independent writing. Okay, so here, 5, forget about it. You're not going to make it. 4, nope. 3, it says addresses the topic and task using somewhat developed explanations, has unity, progression, and coherence. However, sometimes it's difficult to understand the connection of your ideas, has some problems with sentence formation and word choice, has accurate but limited range of sentence structures and vocabulary. 2. Limited development of ideas as they relate to the topic and task, inadequate organization or connection of ideas, inappropriate lack of details, examples, explanations to support your generalizations. Yes! I mean, no, you don't want that, but yes, that's what's happening in this essay. Numerous problems with inappropriate word choice or word forms. I don't know that that's a huge problem, but I think inappropriate lack of details or examples or explanations, that's killing you. That's what's killing this essay. Exactly right there. I'm telling you, that's the main thing, the main reason. I'm going to put you at about 2.75 or 18 points out of 30. Notice, your practice test has one or more of the following weaknesses. That is the one. Because notice, I mean, look at it. Look at all these details I put in here. I talked about advertising and documentary television programs. That was a good example to help support how to solve some of the problems of pollution, which is a global problem. But if you look at your paragraphs, you're not really developing and giving good examples to support your generalizations, and that is why I gave you the score that I did. Okay? So anyway, keep up the good work. I hope that this exercise in editing your paper is giving you a good idea of the changes that you need to make, both grammatically but also in terms of organization and development that you need to do if you want to score 30 points out of 30.